Lily Chen woke up choking for air. Her chest rose sharply as if she had just been dragged out of deep water. Cold sweat soaked her pajamas, and her heart pounded so loudly it almost hurt her ears. She stared at the ceiling. White. Clean. Expensive. A crystal chandelier hung above her bed, reflecting soft yellow light. The curtains were thick and pale blue. The air smelled faintly of lavender, Gracelyn's favorite scent. This wasn't a hospital. This wasn't hell. Lily sat up suddenly, her hands shaking as she grabbed the blanket. Her fingers were slim and smooth, without scars, without wrinkles. She looked down at herself. Young. 18 years old. No, this isn't possible, she whispered. Memories crashed into her mind like broken glass. The DNA test report. The word fake whispered behind her back. Grace Lynn's forced smile. David Lynn's cold silence. Ryan Lynn slowly calling her by her name instead of little sister. And then Emma. The real daughter. Emma had returned quietly in Lily's last life. No crying. No fighting. No obvious revenge. She simply stood there and watched as everything that once belonged to Lily slipped back into its original place. The parents' attention. The family trust. The home. Lily remembered the final night clearly. Rain. Bright headlights. A sharp turn. Then nothing. I died, Lily murmured, her lips trembling. She pressed a hand against her chest. Her heart was beating, strong and real. I'm alive. A wild thought rose in her mind, terrifying and thrilling at the same time. I came back. Lily jumped out of bed and ran to the mirror. The girl staring back at her had soft features, bright eyes, and no trace of bitterness yet. This was before everything fell apart. Before Emma came back. Before the truth was exposed. Lily's legs gave out, and she sank onto the floor, laughing and crying at the same time. I still have time, she said breathlessly. I can fix it. I can change everything. Her eyes hardened with determination. In her past life, she had been proud. Careless. She had believed love was guaranteed. That the Lynn family would always choose her. This time, she wouldn't make the same mistake. I'll be better, Lily whispered to her reflection. I'll be kinder. More obedient. I'll love them more than anyone else. She clenched her fists. And when Emma comes back, I'll be ready. Downstairs, the Lynn family was already awake. Grace Lynn sat on the sofa, flipping through a fashion magazine. Her hair was perfectly styled, her expression relaxed. David Lynn was at the dining table, reading business news on his tablet, glasses perched low on his nose. Ryan Lynn leaned against the kitchen counter, scrolling on his phone, looking bored as usual. Lily took a deep breath before walking down the stairs. The sound of her footsteps made Grace look up. Lily, you're up early today, Grace said, smiling casually. That smile hit Lily like a knife. In her last life, that smile had slowly disappeared. Lily walked forward quickly and, without warning, threw her arms around Grace. Mom. Grace stiffened for a moment, surprised by the sudden affection. Yes, she asked, patting Lily's back awkwardly. What's wrong? Lily buried her face into Grace's shoulder. Her voice trembled, perfectly controlled. I suddenly felt very lucky, she said softly. Lucky to be your daughter. Grace laughed lightly. You're being strange today. But she didn't push Lily away. David glanced up from his tablet, his brows knitting slightly. Are you feeling unwell? He asked. Lily quickly released Grace and smiled brightly. No, Dad. I'm fine. I just wanted to say good morning. She walked to the table and poured David a cup of coffee exactly the way he liked it. Ryan watched the scene quietly, his eyes narrowing just a little. Something felt different. Lily was always affectionate, but not like this. There was urgency in her movements, like she was afraid of losing something. Lily noticed Ryan's gaze and smiled at him too. Good morning, brother. Ryan paused. Morning, he replied slowly. The word brother lingered strangely in the air. Lily sat down, hands folded neatly on her lap. She looked around the familiar dining room, the family photos on the wall, the polished table, the warm lighting. This is my home, she told herself fiercely. I won't let anyone take it again. Outside the large window, the sky was clear and blue. Lily didn't know one thing. While she had woken up first, making plans and promises, the real daughter was already on her way back. And this time, Emma Lynn would not come seeking love. She would come prepared. And 10 steps ahead. It was raining the day Emma Lynn came back. The sky was grey, heavy, like it was pressing down on the city. Cars passed by the Lynn family villa one after another, splashing water onto the clean pavement. A taxi stopped at the gate. The door opened. Emma stepped out. She wore simple jeans, a black hoodie, and white sneakers that were already stained with rain. In her hand was a small suitcase, no designer brand, no decorations. She stood still for a moment, rain sliding down her hair and soaking her shoulders. The house in front of her looked exactly the same. White walls. Tall windows. Perfect garden. In her first life, she had stood here trembling, hopeful, terrified. This time, she felt nothing. So this is where everything went wrong, Emma thought calmly. She remembered everything. How she had tried to be obedient. How she had studied hard, spoken softly, smiled carefully, afraid of being disliked. How she had watched Lily cry once and immediately receive comfort, while she was told to be understanding. She remembered realizing something too late. Love in this family was not shared. It was taken. Emma pulled her suitcase forward and pressed the doorbell. Inside the house, Lily was sitting beside Grace, chatting happily. So I thought, maybe we can redecorate the guest room, Lily said lightly. If a guest comes, it should feel warm. Grace nodded. You're right. You always think of these things. The doorbell rang. Grace frowned slightly. Who would come in this weather? A maid opened the door. Madam, she said hesitantly, there's a girl outside. She says, her name is Emma Lynn. The room went silent. Lily's smile froze. Her fingers tightened around the teacup. She's here. Grace stood up slowly. Emma. David put down his tablet, his expression unreadable. Ryan straightened unconsciously. The door opened wider. Emma stepped inside. Rainwater dripped onto the floor from her hair and clothes. She looked thin, calm, and completely composed. She lifted her eyes and looked at them. No excitement. No fear. No gratitude. Just a quiet acknowledgement. Hello, Emma said. Her voice was steady. I'm Emma. Grace rushed forward, emotions clearly mixed on her face. Come in, come in. You must be cold. Emma nodded politely but didn't move closer. Thank you. She glanced briefly at Lily. Their eyes met. Lily felt a chill run down her spine. This wasn't the Emma she remembered. The old Emma had looked nervous, cautious, like she was begging to be accepted. This Emma looked like she already knew the ending. David cleared his throat. You've had a long journey. You can rest upstairs. Emma nodded again. That's fine. She turned slightly and added, Mr. and Mrs. Lynn. Grace flinched. Lily's heart skipped violently. She didn't call her mom. At dinner, the atmosphere was strange. Lily tried her best to act naturally. Emma, these dishes might be a little oily. Tell me if you don't like them, Lily said kindly. Emma picked up her chopsticks. They're fine. Her tone was neutral, distant. David watched her closely. You don't seem nervous. Emma looked up at him. Should I be? David paused. No, he said after a moment. Ryan frowned faintly. He couldn't explain why, but something about Emma made him uncomfortable and curious. After dinner, Grace tried to take Emma's hand. You can tell me if you need anything, Grace said gently. Emma withdrew her hand without offense, just a small step back. I'm used to handling things myself. Grace forced a smile, but unease settled in her chest. That night, Lily lay awake in bed. Through the thin wall, she could hear Emma moving in the next room. The sound of a suitcase opening. Clothes being folded carefully. Why isn't she trying? Lily thought anxiously. In her past life, Emma had tried so hard. She had wanted approval, love, belonging. But this Emma was too calm. Too controlled. Lily sat up, clutching her blanket. It's fine, she told herself. She just got here. I woke up first. I know everything that will happen. She would stay ahead. She would be the perfect daughter. In the other room, Emma finished unpacking. She sat at the desk and turned on her phone. She opened a note. Title, Lynn Family. Under it, she began typing calmly. Grace Lynn, values image, fears emotional distance. David Lynn, respects usefulness, hates chaos. Ryan Lynn, protective instinct, reacts to silence. Emma paused, then added another line. Lily Chen, fears abandonment, overcompensates with affection. She closed the note and looked out the window. Rain streaked down the glass like quiet tears. In her first life, Emma had cried here. This time, she smiled faintly. Let the game begin. And Lily, lying awake in her soft bed, still believed. That love was something she could steal back. She didn't realize yet. Emma was no longer playing for love. She was playing for control. Morning sunlight filled the Lynn house. Lily was already awake. She tied her hair carefully, chose a soft-colored dress, and went downstairs before anyone else. In the kitchen, she rolled up her sleeves and began preparing breakfast. Fried eggs, toast, fresh fruit. Everything light. Everything healthy. When Grace walked in, she looked surprised. Why didn't you wake the maid? Grace asked. Lily smiled gently. I wanted to do it myself. Grace's expression softened. You're really thoughtful. Lily lowered her eyes shyly, but inside, her heart beat faster. This is how it should be. She placed breakfast neatly on the table. When David came down, his coffee was already prepared. Dad, I remembered you don't like sugar, Lily said. David nodded. Good. Ryan sat down last. His eyes flicked toward the kitchen once, then away. Emma came down quietly. She wore simple clothes, hair tied back, face clean and expressionless. She greeted everyone calmly. Good morning. Lily immediately pulled out a chair. Emma, sit here. Emma glanced at the seat, then at Lily. Thank you. She sat, ate slowly, said little. No complaints. No smiles meant to please. David noticed. You're adjusting well, he said. Emma wiped her mouth and replied evenly, there's nothing to adjust to. David paused, then nodded slightly. Lily's fingers tightened around her chopsticks. At school, Lily watched Emma carefully. In their previous life, Emma had struggled, trying too hard to fit in, afraid of making mistakes. This time, Emma walked calmly through the campus, unbothered by curious looks. She didn't join groups. Didn't force conversations. And yet, teachers noticed her. Emma Lynn, your test scores are impressive. Very consistent. Very disciplined. Lily heard the whispers and felt a strange panic rise. That evening, David spoke during dinner. Emma, your grades are strong. Emma nodded. Thank you. No excitement. No pride. Grace smiled awkwardly. She's very independent. Lily forced a laugh. Emma has always been like that. But something had shifted. Praise was landing on Emma naturally, without effort. A week later, Ryan offered Emma a ride home. I'm going that way, he said casually. Emma hesitated for half a second, then nodded. Okay. Lily stood by the gate, frozen. In her last life, Ryan had driven her. She smiled quickly. Be careful on the road. Ryan nodded and left with Emma. Lily watched the car disappear, her nails digging into her palm. Why isn't she competing? Lily thought wildly. Why isn't she trying to take things? Inside the car, silence filled the space. You don't talk much, Ryan said eventually. Emma looked out the window. I don't see the need. Ryan frowned. You don't want to be close to the family? Emma turned slightly, her gaze calm. Wanting doesn't change outcomes. Ryan didn't know why, but his chest tightened. That night, Grace knocked on Emma's door. Can I come in? Emma opened the door fully. Of course. Grace sat on the edge of the bed. If you feel uncomfortable, you can tell me. Emma nodded. I'm fine. Grace hesitated. You don't seem needy. Emma smiled faintly. Need makes people tired. Grace left the room feeling strangely unsettled. Down the hall, Lily heard everything. Her heart pounded. The breaking point came during dinner. Lily, distracted, knocked her bowl by accident. Soup spilled across the table. I'm sorry, she said quickly, eyes reddening. Before Grace could react, Emma stood up, grabbed napkins, and placed them beside Lily. Be careful, Emma said calmly. The words were gentle. But the room went quiet. David looked at Lily, then at Emma. Ryan's gaze lingered on Emma for a second too long. Lily felt something crack inside her chest. That was when she understood. Love wasn't loud. It wasn't about who tried harder. It moved toward calm, toward stability, toward the one who did not beg. That night, Lily locked her door and stared at the ceiling. I woke up first, she told herself desperately. I know the future. But for the first time since her rebirth, she felt afraid. Because Emma wasn't chasing anything. And that meant Emma was already ahead. Lily started waking up tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep could fix, but the kind that settled deep in her bones. Every morning, she stood in front of the mirror longer than before, checking her expression, practicing her smile. Be gentle. Be understanding. Don't make mistakes. She reminded herself of this every day. At breakfast, she laughed at Grace's stories. She praised David's decisions. She asked Ryan about school, even when he barely answered. She did everything right. And yet, something felt wrong. Emma was still the same. She woke up on time. Left on time. Came home on time. She didn't try to join conversations, but when she spoke, people listened. She didn't ask for attention. Attention moved toward her anyway. One afternoon, Grace mentioned casually, Emma, I told my friends about your grades. Emma looked up from her phone. You didn't have to. Grace smiled. I'm proud. The word hung in the air. Lily's hand trembled slightly as she poured tea. Grace rarely said that word to her anymore. Lily began making small mistakes. She forgot David's meeting schedule. She misheard Grace's instructions. She reacted too strongly when a teacher criticized her. I was just worried, Lily explained quickly, eyes red. I didn't mean to argue. David frowned. You're becoming emotional. The word hit hard. In their family, emotional was not a compliment. Emma, sitting nearby, said nothing. She only observed. Ryan started spending more time with Emma. Not intentionally. It just happened. He'd ask her opinion on something. She'd answer directly, without flattery. He'd ask again. One night, they studied at the same table. You don't ask for help, Ryan said suddenly. Emma didn't look up. I prefer control. Ryan paused. That sounds lonely. Emma finally met his eyes. So does disappointment. Ryan didn't respond. But that sentence stayed with him longer than he expected. Lily overheard them. She stood behind the door, fingers pressed against the wall, heart racing. Emma's voice was calm, clear, unemotional. Everything Lily was trying to be, but couldn't. That night, Lily couldn't sleep. Her chest felt tight, like something was squeezing it slowly. A week later, Lily finally cracked. She and Emma were alone in the hallway. No parents. No brother. Lily spoke first, her voice low. You don't actually care about them, do you? Emma turned, expression unreadable. Care? You don't try, Lily said, her words spilling out. You don't cry, you don't please them, you don't fight. Why? Emma looked at her quietly for a long moment. Then she answered honestly. Because love that must be fought for is already lost. Lily shook her head. That's not true. Emma stepped closer. Her voice was soft, almost kind. You cried once, Emma said. And they comforted you for weeks. Lily froze. Emma continued calmly. I cried for years. Nothing changed. Lily's face went pale. How do you know that? She whispered. Emma smiled faintly. Because I lived it. Lily stumbled back. In that moment, fear finally replaced denial. Emma wasn't guessing. She remembered. The next family meeting was about business. A small project David was investing in had a problem. Contracts, numbers, pressure. Emma reviewed the documents silently, then spoke. "There's a risk here," she said, pointing calmly. "But it's fixable." She laid out the solution step by step. Clear. Logical. Effective. David listened closely. Ryan watched with surprise. Grace felt a strange sense of relief. When it ended, David said, "Good work." He didn't say Lily's name at all. Lily smiled weakly. That night, Lily sat alone in her room. Her phone screen glowed, unread messages piling up. She hugged her knees, breath shaky. This isn't how it was supposed to go. She had woken up first. She had tried harder. She had loved more. But Emma was dismantling everything without raising her voice. Without shedding a tear. Across the hall, Emma stood by the window, city lights reflecting in her eyes. She wasn't happy. She wasn't angry. She was precise. In her first life, Emma had learned one cruel lesson too late. In this life, she applied it early. Family love was not about who needed it most. It was about who created the least trouble. And Lily was starting to make noise. The Lynn family crisis arrived without warning. It started with a phone call early in the morning. David answered it in the study. His expression changed minute by minute, tight jaw, narrowed eyes, stiff posture. When he came out, the house felt colder. "A partner company is under investigation," he said at breakfast. "Our project is involved." Grace froze. "Is it serious?" "Serious enough." Lily's chopsticks paused midair. In her last life, she remembered this. This was the moment when everything turned. Back then, Lily had panicked. She cried. She made emotional suggestions that only made things worse. Emma had been silent. And later, indispensable. This time, Emma spoke first. "May I see the documents?" she asked calmly. David hesitated for only a second before handing them over. Lily watched, her heart pounding. "No. Not yet. It's too early." Emma read quietly, flipping pages, eyes focused. The room waited. After a long silence, Emma looked up. "There's a legal escape," she said. "But it requires quick action and clear communication." She explained. No extra words. No emotion. David listened intently, asking questions. Emma answered each one precisely. Ryan leaned forward without realizing it. Grace exhaled slowly, like she'd been holding her breath. When it was over, David nodded. "We'll do it your way." The words were final. Lily's hands trembled. From that day on, Emma was included in discussions. Meetings. Calls. Decisions. Not because she demanded it. Because she was needed. Lily tried to help too. She brought tea. She offered suggestions she thought sounded logical. But her voice shook. David frowned more often. "Focus," he told her once. That single word cut deeper than any scolding. Grace started unconsciously leaning toward Emma. When stressed, she called Emma's name first. When unsure, she looked at Emma. Lily noticed every shift. Every glance. Every pause. She smiled through it all. But at night, she cried silently into her pillow. Ryan stopped hiding it. "You're strong," he said to Emma one evening, almost awkwardly. Emma replied simply, "I had to be." Ryan didn't ask why. Some truths felt too heavy. The end came quietly. One afternoon, Lily overheard Grace on the phone. "She's unstable lately," Grace said softly. "I worry about Lily." Unstable. The word echoed in Lily's head. That night, Lily packed her suitcase. She folded her clothes slowly, carefully, as if delaying the moment. When she opened the door, Emma stood there. Not blocking her. Just watching. "Are you leaving?" Emma asked. Lily nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Do you hate me?" Lily whispered. Emma shook her head. "I don't think about you." That hurt more than hatred. Lily laughed weakly. "You won, didn't you?" Emma met her eyes. "I didn't compete." Lily lowered her head. That was the final blow. The door closed softly behind Lily. No one chased after her. The house remained silent. Emma returned to her room and closed her notebook. The list was complete. The family had chosen. Not consciously, but inevitably. She looked at her reflection in the dark window. In her first life, she had begged to belong. In this one, she had learned something colder. Belonging was granted to the one who could hold everything together. And Lily had already fallen apart. Checkmate. Without blood. Without words. Without mercy. The Lynn house returned to normal. At least, on the surface. Lily's room was cleaned within a week. Her things were packed into boxes and stored away. No one mentioned her name at the dinner table. Not because it was forbidden, but because it felt unnecessary. Emma noticed this first. Humans adjusted quickly when discomfort was removed. Grace tried. Sometimes, late at night, she would knock on Emma's door with a cup of warm milk. "You should rest more," Grace said softly. Emma accepted the cup. "Thank you." Grace lingered, unsure whether to stay or leave. In Emma's first life, she would have filled that silence with longing. This time, she allowed it to exist. Grace eventually left, heart heavy with a feeling she didn't fully understand. David relied on Emma completely. He asked her opinions, trusted her judgment, included her in future planning. "You think like me," he said once. Emma replied calmly, "I learned." David didn't ask from where. Ryan changed the most. He became quieter around Emma. Protective. Not in obvious ways, but subtle ones. He walked her home. Waited for her without being asked. Stepped in when conversations turned sharp. One evening, he said, "If you ever leave, tell me first." Emma looked at him. "I won't," she said. Ryan didn't smile. But something in his shoulders relaxed. Years passed. The Lynn family stabilized. Expanded. Succeeded. Emma remained. Not because she loved them. Not because she forgave them. But because they needed her. And that need gave her position. Control. Safety. One evening, Emma stood by the same window Lily once cried behind. City lights reflected in her eyes. She thought of her first life. The girl who waited for affection. The girl who tried to earn love. The girl who lost anyway. This version of herself felt distant. Almost pitiful. Somewhere else, Lily lived quietly. She learned to survive without constant approval. Sometimes, she dreamed of the Lynn house. Sometimes, she woke up relieved. Grace never realized when the shift happened. David never questioned it. Ryan sensed it, but said nothing. They only knew one truth. The daughter who stayed was calm, capable, reliable, and no longer replaceable. Emma closed the curtain. In this life, she did not chase love. She let it come when useful. And when it didn't, she was already whole.